computer.
Hello and welcome, everybody. Today we are here for a super special collaboration. It's me, Dagmar Bryant, together with Bethany Shelton, and we are going to talk about all things to do with intuition, frequency, and spirit connection. Bethany, would you like to tell our viewers and listeners something about yourself, please?
Oh, well, it's so interesting. I had no awareness about energy frequency and vibration until I started to my worst traumatic event. So I'm excited about this conversation because it's going to be full of growth. It's going to be full of questions like, wow, what? That's interesting. Oh, I can't connect with not only my heart, but with other magical beings. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, Dagmar.
Yeah, me too. And just a little bit about me for some of you, you know that I am probably the host of the Angelic Footprints podcast. My background wasn't always with angels and spirit. In fact, I have a legal background, and connecting with beautiful people like Bethany through the podcast is just this wonderful opportunity of bringing this information to you all so that you all can connect as well. And that's what we want to bring to you today. We're going to talk a little bit about frequency. We want to talk a little bit about intuition and maybe even throw some angelic information in there as well. But how you can do that as well and the kind of impact that it can have on you. Bethany, would you like to start with talking a little bit about frequency and what frequency really is and what it does?
Wow. It's interesting because once again, we weren't taught about any of this frequency. Your mind, your thoughts carry a frequency. What you put out, what you think you put out. This is your antenna. This is what you put out, and you have a powerhouse. That a piece of technology that we are walking around with that we had no idea, but you are walking around with the biggest piece of technology this world has seen, and that is your heart. This is your magnetics. So what you think about is what you bring about. What you bring about, you experience. So gaining awareness of those thoughts and what frequency, what vibration you are choosing to think and feel. So, that's one big, huge piece of frequency because everything in this realm vibrates. Everything on this realm has a frequency. Everything, everything vibrates. So, gaining awareness of what it is you're choosing in your life to think and feel and getting out of the victim mindset so you can choose something differently so you can experience a magical, fun, creator life. Yes, that
Yeah.
for me is frequency.
And very much so. I mean, we can choose to be in the frequency of what we want to create. If we want to be in the lower frequencies like guilt and shame and
Yes.
ridicule and all those lower frequencies that operate at that 20 to 50 hertz kind of vibration, that is going to bring us down. Now,
Yes.
when we're wanting to connect with our loved ones in spirit, when we want to connect in with angels, and we want to connect in to that higher frequency of love and gratitude and enlightenment, then we have to lift our frequency. And how can we do that, Bethany? I'd love you to share with us.
It's very interesting because we were taught, told, and made to believe that you have to see something to believe it. But in the realm of frequency and energy, these are you won't catch it with your visual eyes. You can sense, feel, and know these. Now we all have an electromagnetic field. It's an invisible field that precedes us 6 to 8 feet out, 360 degrees all the way around. Now, when we are, out and about, and you were choosing to think, like for me, in my reality, I used to think grief because I had lost my only child. And so in sorrow. Well, grief vibrates at 75 hertz. You know, sorrow vibrates at 30 hertz. So, I had to really take a conscious awareness because my electromagnetic field was collapsing in when I was choosing those lower frequency thought forms, and my field was collapsing in and putting the body into fight or flight. And that's what happens when we choose the what I call the lower aspects. And like you just spoke on, the grief, the sorrow, the blame, the shame, the hurt, the anger, the fear. All of those are lower aspects of frequency, and that puts the field, collapses in on you, restricts in, constricts in, and that puts the body into fight or flight. And if you choose that long enough, your body will find dis-ease. And so, it takes constant state of awareness to really gain control because we haven't been taught and told to do this. We've just been reacting to our reality and not responding because we've been running on program what we've always done, but we're hoping for a different outcome. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's so interesting that when you start to take a control of your mind, because your mind is a powerhouse too, for
it
sure.
is. And it is. And we could say that our mind, in fact, is, well, as well as our heart, is the most powerful part of ourselves. And we have to acknowledge too, though, that when we lose someone that we love or that we're going through trauma or challenges, we can be in those lower frequencies. If you've been, hypothetically, right, I would never wish this on anyone, attacked, right? If someone's robbed you, for example, you're not going to feel like that you want to operate at a high frequency. Of course not. You still need to operate as a human being. But what we're saying is that at some point we will get that choice of how long do we want to stay in those lower frequencies. Yes, we still have to experience grief. Yes, we still have to deal with our emotions. Yes, we still have to have that physical aspect of our life, which is dealing with that. But remember, everything is a choice. And at some point, do we want to pull ourselves out of that? And as Bethany, as you said, it is about the mindset of shifting our mindset of how we can then move into those higher vibrations. And that's something that I had to learn too when I was moving into the field of, I said I came from a background of law. Well, all of a sudden I found that my friend who I was studying law with said to me, Dagmar, would you like to do tarot and would you like to learn tarot? And then we went down the path of learning tarot and then mediumship and then all these other parts of this new age kind of learning, which really was a conscious choice on my part to lift my vibration. So, Bethany, how would you say, and you did touch on the passing of Kevin, how did you come to that point where you knew that you had to get out of grief? What happened at that time for you?
Well, that first year after my son passed was a year of non-remembrance. I was so shocked and hurt and, just miserable. But my son began to communicate with me in ways I had no idea was even possible. And so through this communication, my son taught me everything because, like I said before, I had no awareness of any of this. And then my son began to communicate with me and started to train me, teach me, bring awareness to me about what I was doing by grieving him because I had a soul contract with him that we agreed that we would come into this 3D planet and he was going to give me the experience of separation, grief, loss, hurt. But I had no awareness when I got in body that this was a part of my soul's contract. So he came to me and was like, "Hey, mom, what are we doing here?" He's like, Mom, when I had my body, and he calls it his concrete shoes. He said, "Mom, that thing is so dense." And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "But Mom, when I was in my body, you and I were on the same frequency, like pretty much how me and you are right now." He said, "But Mom, when I crossed back over and went back into energy spirit," he said, "I rose in frequency." He said, but Mom, you dropped because you were in grief, sorrow, blame, shame, hurt. He said, Mom, do you see how hard it is for us to communicate? You see the gap there? He said, what are we doing? And I was like, oh, oh, oh my gosh. And so he led me down the field, to go and research what it is, emotional intelligence, what it is about hertz, frequencies, vibrations, energies. He taught me that if I would like to communicate with these higher dimensional spiritual beings, I had to rise in my frequency to be able to even come to a closer, even in the range to have these connections. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then he started to really turn it up and started to manipulate, electronics, and then, of course, the signs and synchronicities and communications. Just once I started to rise, it started to just like almost snowball effect. And to now, I have complete telepathy with him and with my angelic, my galactics and indigenous. So it is, I'm going to tell you what, it has been my greatest gift to experience. I haven't lost anything. I have gained so much. I have gained so much.
What an amazing perspective. And isn't it? You touched on this earlier. You talked about, wouldn't it be great if we learned this at school instead of some of the boring history lessons that mean absolutely nothing? Wouldn't it be great to learn about communication, telepathy, and being able to lift your vibration so that you can really connect with your loved ones in spirit?
Yeah, because Kevin taught me, he was like, Mom, you're grieving a shell. He said, Mom, that's not me. That's just a body that houses my spirit, my soul. We
Yeah.
are infinite beings with a body. He said, but Mom, when I drop that, we can communicate just like I am with you right here, right now. And we do. And it's one of the most magical gifts that I received through my heart, that I get to experience him on this level, and I'm still in the body. I
And
still have a body.
I really wish that for everybody, to be able to have that knowledge, to be able to share that beautiful communication with the other side, whether we call that our loved ones in spirit, whether we call that angels. I know that there are psychics out there who do connect with other beings, whether we call them entities, extraterrestrials, galactics, however, whatever term that you want to use. So there's definitely different ways of communicating telepathically. Let me get that word out. Telepathically. And we are so much more than this physical body. At the end of the day, we are a physical body, and we have a spirit inside of us. And that spirit that is inside of us, that soul, is our true essence. And that's what we really want to connect with. I know, Bethany, you talked about Calvin teaching you how to do this and how to communicate with him. If you were to give a message to anyone listening to this particular program, what would you say is a gift that we together can give to others out there who want to experience this joy and this connection as well?
The gift of presence, of being right here, right now, dropping the mindset of trying to figure it out. Thinking is stinking, in my opinion, because presence allows you to become aware. When you are not thinking about the what I should do, what I ought to do, what I need to do, what I'm gonna do, and you are here right now, then you are tapped in to awareness and presence, and that's where they communicate at. That
Yeah.
right there. That right there is right here, right now, and being quiet. Because I'm gonna tell you what, Dogmar, when I started to really take, inventory of my mindset, and I began to operate from my heart, which is presence, And I'm going to tell you what, in time, I got so accustomed to the quietness, to this, that I hardly go back to the mental chatter, the figuring out, what I call the hamster wheel. You're just spinning, 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 trying to figure it out, get the right answer, be a good human. I got to do this, I got to do that. My husband needs me to do all of this, and you're not present and aware, and you're missing every sign in communication with the spiritual realm because you're still here and operating on this. And so taking the time to sit with yourself, to feel it all, heal it all, because that is huge, and listening through your heart.
I agree. Yeah. And we are living a very forward life. Everything is going a million miles an hour. You have the news being blasted at you, you have social media, you have all of these vehicles of information trying to draw your attention, and you get bogged down with it. I can really understand how so many people might have conditions, whether it's to do with their mental health, whether it's to do with their physical health, stress, anxiety, all of those things, because of the amount of information that they are being bombarded with. Yet, as you say, if we allow ourselves to take that step back, turn off the TV, turn off the computer, which is kind of ironic because we're asking everyone to watch what we're talking about.
But
But
you know, when you pay attention and you're aware, because your body is your antenna, you know what I mean? What are you choosing for yourself when you sit down on it? And like, everything that I talk about is just energy, frequency, and vibration. You know,
yeah,
when you sit down in front of that TV, what are they blaring? What frequency are you soaking in into the body? Is it fear? Is it blaming someone? Is it shaming someone? What are those? Those are lower aspects of frequency, and is putting the body into fight or flight. That goes for the music. That goes for everything that you put surround your body in, because guess what? The body is more conscious than the being. The
yeah,
body is the one that is experiencing the 3D realm. The body. So connecting with that is your powerhouse. And how do you do that? Get right here. You know, connect. Yes, we're gonna have this, but if this is all cloudy and it's just running on programming and what you know, right here is your peace.
mm. And we need to take time for quiet time, which
Yes.
is kind of funny because I actually said I was going to do that yesterday. And then guess what? I got so busy doing all my work, creating programs, creating work. So you have just reminded me I need to do exactly that. And I get that there are people who say, let's not call it meditation. Let's go with your description. Let's go with quiet time, going within, being present.
Mhm.
There are so many people who say, I can't do that. My mind is too busy. My mind is worrying. Well, I would say to you, get a piece of paper and get some of those things out of your brain, that to-do list. There is nothing wrong with a to-do list. Here, I have loads of to-do lists on my table here. But it's like, get it out of your brain, and then you can go and have that quiet time. It's like I said to my husband the other day, I was awake in the middle of the night because I hadn't had the opportunity to get things out of my brain, to put them onto that piece of paper so I can have my quiet time. So, what is it? I'm going to ask that to you, the audience. What is it that you need to do to have that quiet time? Do you need to go to a quiet space? Do you need to put soft music on? Some people would say to me, I don't have a quiet space. I've got a busy household. I'm living with a lot of people. There's kids running around. I'm constantly doing this, that, and everything else. I'm a carer. I'm this. Well, close the door to the bathroom. Put the sign up. Do not disturb. Right? Have a bath for a little while.
Yeah,
That's quiet time too.
yeah.
And that allows you to be present. Any other suggestions? What else would you suggest, Bethany, for people who have crazy busy households?
I would say go find circles. And what I mean by that is that when we are in our homes, in our cars, in our cubicles, in our grocery stores, everything is a box. And as an energy, that doesn't have regeneration. It's a box. Step outside. S- Go outside and put your feet on the ground and look at the circles. The circles are the trees. The circles are the creation, the creator's creation, right? Go out there and and then all it takes is just 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Put your feet on the ground and just sit out there for 5 minutes and look at the trees and operate through presence. And I'm going to tell you what, you do that enough, that right there will shift. Something in your body being or in reality will shift because you are soaking in a different frequency into your body through your feet, and your body will start to respond differently.
I can tell you, I feel that every time we have woods very close by to where we live, every time going near to the woods. And I love it when it gets a little bit warmer, because obviously it's winter at the moment. But when it gets a little bit warmer here in the Northern Hemisphere, we get the deer that come out, and they're absolutely beautiful. And I'm one of these people who'll talk to the animals, right? I'll talk to anything. I've talked to the cows, I've talked to the deer, but they're just beautiful. And then you really get to feel their vibration as well. And they absolutely know that if you're sitting at that higher vibration, they're not going to run away either. Whereas if
I
ever
I have an amazing story I'd like to share.
there,
So
yeah, please.
so Mother's Day this year, I could have totally chose to spin out and just really just bawl and feel bad. But I didn't. I chose something different so I could get a different outcome. I spoke out. I was stepping out into my garage. I opened my garage door, and in that moment, I said, "Man, Kevin, whoo, hey, buddy, Mom sure needs you to show up and show out for her today." As I'm walking through my garage and out onto my driveway, this beautiful blue bird flies in and lands 3 feet into my electromagnetic field. Now, if that bird was not there to share its frequency of love, compassion, joy, it would have flown in some other tree, on some other fence. It would not have flown that close into my field. And it just sat there. And that is a Mother's Day gift that I still get to experience right here on January 2nd, because I can still sense, feel, and gather what that did for me in that moment. And I just absolutely have so much joy and excitement. I'm like, whoa, that was the best gift ever. I mean, wow. And being grateful that whatever shows up shows out for me. And when
Mm,
you start to look at that, when I go on walks, all the squirrels, the birds, everything is responding, the trees. I am absolutely thriving and vibing. And once you start doing that, because like attracts like. So when you're in those higher states of awareness, of, feeling emotion, what is emotion? Energy in motion. Like attracts like. So when I'm in those higher frequencies, I'm attracting that right back to me.
yeah.
That goes for the same thing. If you choose to do those lower aspects, you're only attracting more of that lower, dense energy back to you.
And let's take this a step further. And I love what you contributed there. That is such a beautiful story. For me, I have that with feathers. Sometimes I just get feathers just randomly. All of a sudden, there's a feather in my car, there's a feather in my room here, wherever. And I love when we work at that frequency because, as you say, we have that gratitude, we get more of that. But let's look at that. If we take this a step further, for all of you out there, think about if you want to have a new job, or if you want to have new opportunities, if you want to have a new relationship, the frequency that you are vibrating at is going to dictate that experience. So if you're vibrating at a very low frequency, the people that you attract are probably going to be more of the same. And yeah, Bethany's going, oh, don't want that, right? But when you are vibrating at that higher frequency of love and gratitude and all of those wonderful things, more of the same comes at you, and more people who are able to present you with opportunities, with projects, with whatever it is that you want to attract, they're going to come into your life. And I think we need to remember that this is not woo woo. This is science. Quantum physics tells us about like attracts like, the kind of energy that we're bringing into us. What would you like to add to that, Bethany?
Wow, that is so true. And the thing is that people, I was in the grocery store not too long ago, and I noticed that when I was in, these higher states of awareness and higher frequencies, that people, think of when you come in contact out in, society and you sense, feel, and it's like, energy, because people just, if they're not on the same frequency as you, it's almost discomfort for them to come into your reality, into your field. Because once again, if you're operating and choosing those higher states, you're only going to attract more of that into your reality, because the universe responds to frequency, not wants, not needs. It's where you are vibrating at is what you'll attract back in to have that experience.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so. Very much so. In terms of where we want to go, and remember, we are just into a new year. We are in the year of the fire horse, or coming into the year of the fire horse with Chinese astrology. It's the 2026 energy, very powerful energy. 2026 is also a 1 year, which is all about new beginnings. We're getting rid of all that heaviness, all of that utter crap that we've had to deal with in 2025. This is the perfect time. If you're, rather than thinking about, I want to manifest, start thinking about what you are putting out there. Start operating from a higher frequency. Start operating from that mindset that you are powerful and can create these better things in your life. And if you're wondering why it's not working, ask yourself, well, what frequency am I operating at? And Bethany, I know you've got some tools, some great tools about the frequency chart. Is there a chart like that on your website by chance?
I, I probably have not on the website, but there is one. I'll send you one. I don't have it on the website. Usually, I really dissect with my clients and this information because it is such a transformational piece. Of really gaining awareness of what it is you are thinking and feeling, and on a hertz level. You
You
know,
know what it sounds like? I don't have a chart like that either. It sounds like anyone who's listening to this and who wants some help with this, they need to contact us to really help them to move their vibration out of that negativity and into that positivity to really move our lives forward. In terms of, you talked about, let's go back a little bit. You talked about Calvin earlier, and obviously my experience with spirit as well. If we go back to our experiences, what is it that you believe in your heart that spirit wants us to know so that we can live our best life?
Well, what I firmly believe is that I am here to absolutely ballpark, grand slam, the programming around grief and hurt and separation that, it's so interesting that I have such an amazing gift, with my son, and I am here to share everything and anything I can possibly do to help anyone that is struggling through grief, that is struggling through sorrow, um, and to share my heart. Yeah,
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 I
for
think
sure.
that's really beautiful. Share your heart. And I think for myself, that's what I do with the Angelic Footprints podcast. I want to share the love from spirit, the love from our angels, and making that connection so that you all can get to experience that as well. Bethany, is there anything that you would like to add before we finish up for today?
Yeah, I would like to share with everyone that if you want to see a change in this world, you must be the change. You have that is, and really sit with that. If you want to see a change, you have to be the change. There's nothing outside of you right here. You are an absolute powerhouse of a being, but you have been told and taught that you're not. To look outside of yourself for a savior, for a Prince Charming or something. But once you know thyself and you are ready to shift your whole world, yeah, that is going in and knowing thyself. And the best thing I can do is, or best piece of advice would to know your mindset and to feel your heart.
Oh, Bethany, wow, I second that 100%. Know yourself. You are the creator. My wording is slightly different, but I think we're talking about exactly the same thing. We're operating on that same frequency. I do believe that we are the creator of our lives.
Mhm.
Yes, there are some things that and Bethany, you talked about this earlier, about that we don't know when we come into this physical body of what we agreed to in our spiritual contract. And some of that doesn't come about until we start living our life. And then we go, oh my goodness, I don't know if I would have signed that contract, if I would have known about that beforehand, like if I would have remembered that part. But we do. And we come in here into this life to learn valuable lessons. That doesn't mean that our life continuously needs to be horrible, that it continuously needs to be a challenge. Yes, we have learning experiences, but it's still up to us to choose, to make the decision. Do we want to go in this way or do we want to go in that way? So everything is about choices, and you are more powerful than you recognize in the choices that you want to make. Where you are in 3 months' time is because of the choices you've made today. So start becoming conscious of the choices, of your direction, and what you want your outcome to be. And that is my message to you. And if you want to happen to get in touch with me or with Bethany, where are your socials and your contact details for everyone, please?
Yes, they can go to my website, Be Limitless Now, like a bumblebee. They can also follow me on all the social medias at Be Limitless Now. And also I have a podcast called the Holy Shift Balls podcast. And that you can find me on YouTube and all of the social media platforms on that. Rumble, We Me, all of that. So yeah.
Awesome. So my podcast, as I said, is Angelic Footprints. Check that out on your usual podcast platforms as well as on YouTube. If you want to connect with me, I'm Dagmar Bryant on Facebook, Instagram, and on LinkedIn. No, I'm not on TikTok. No, I'm not on a couple of the others. I've stuck with the main ones, but there you go. If you want to find me, I would definitely love to help you move your lives forward as well. For all of you listening, I hope you've got something really beneficial out of today's talk. And something that I would like to impart with you is blessings. And I really hope that 2026 is the year that you want to make it at the highest vibration, at the highest frequency, so that you can achieve the goals that you really want to get and get into your life. So thank you, everybody.
From our heart to yours. Bye bye.